Before we start, comment down where you're watching from and what time it is there. Now let's begin. When you work nights at Target long enough, you stop thinking of it as a store and start thinking of it as a place with a pulse. You learn the rhythm of the building without ever meaning to, the hum of the refrigeration units near the grocery side, the buzzing fluorescence that sounds almost like breathing, and the soft thump of the automatic doors adjusting themselves, even though no one's gone near them for hours. After a while, it stops being something you notice consciously. It just becomes the sound of your second life, the one you live while everyone else sleeps. I've been doing overnight stocking and management for almost 6 years, and in that time, I've heard every weird sound a store can make. Or at least I thought I had. This happened on a rainy Sunday night, the kind of night where the parking lot outside shone like slick black glass in the red. Target balls at the entrance looked distorted under the water running down the windows. The rain was heavy enough that we'd had 2 power flickers before midnight, and nothing dramatic but enough to make everyone jump each time the lights hiccuped. I had 3 people with me, Chris running the backroom polls, Anna doing cosmetics, and Marcus handling general stocking. A good crew, dependable. Around 1:40 a.m., I was in the tiny back office, half listening to the rain thudding against the roof while trying to finish a weekly report. It was quiet, peaceful. Then the store's PA system clicked on by itself. It wasn't a beep or a chime, just the sudden hiss of open audio, like someone had pressed the microphone button. At first I assumed it was just another glitch from the storm. I reached for the switch to reset the PA, but before my hand touched it, a voice slipped through. Not loud, not clear, just a low, crackled whisper woven through static. "Do you hear me?" I froze. It wasn't any of my crew. I know their voices, and this one sounded rough, like whoever was speaking had swallowed gravel and static. "Who's on the line?" I said, pressing the mic button. "Identify yourself." Nothing. Just the sound of the storm and a faint warbling static that almost mimicked breathing. I let it go, chalked it up to interference. It happens sometimes during bad weather. Random radio bleed from the highway. 10 minutes later, it happened again. This time the voice was clearer. "Aisle 12, it muttered. I sat up straight. Aisle 12 was the seasonal aisle, currently half-stocked with spring decor. No reason anyone should be there. I grabbed my walkie. "Chris, you anywhere near seasonal?" "Nope," he answered. "Doing polls." "Anna, still in cosmetics, haven't left." "Marcus, back of the store, why?" My grip tightened around the radio. "Someone just said aisle 12 over the intercom." Marcus snorted. "Probably the wind, man. Or ghosts." He liked cracking ghost jokes on slow nights, but I didn't laugh. Something about the voice didn't feel joking. I stepped out of the office with my flashlight and headed toward aisle 12. The lights were steady, no flickering. The air felt normal. But halfway down the aisle, I noticed the intercom speaker above me glowing with a dim red light. The PA light never turns on without someone pressing the mic in the office. And I'd just left the office with the mic sitting on the desk. I radioed maintenance out of paranoia. "Hey, can the PA light come on by itself?" I asked. The guy on call, a tired-sounding tech named Ray, chuckled. "Not unless someone is messing with you. Everyone's on the other side of the store. Then you've got a short. Rain'll do that." "Unplug the mic." I went back. The mic was unplugged already. That's when the unease started in my chest. Not fear, just something cold and heavy like a warning. I forced myself to shake it off, grabbed an energy drink, and returned to my paperwork. At exactly 2:58 a.m., the PA clicked again. The voice came through clearer, louder, like someone standing right on the mic. "Manager." My heart stuttered. It wasn't angry or loud. It was worse, slow and deliberate, thick with static. "Who is this?" I demanded. "Identify yourself now." The reply came instantly, like the speaker had been waiting. "You're alone now." I spun toward the monitors, expecting the screens to show empty aisles. But no, Chris was pulling pallets. Anna was in makeup touching up a shelf, and Marcus was stacking end cap items. I wasn't alone. My thumb hovered over the walkie button, but before I pressed it, the PA crackled again. "Don't turn around." A sound came from behind me. A soft shuffle. The unmistakable friction of a shoe against the floor tile. I turned immediately. Reflex, pure instinct, no hesitation. And there was nothing there, just the open office door and the faint outline of the hallway beyond. My hands were trembling now, and I hated that. I'm not the type to get jumpy over nothing. I pressed the mic. "If this is some kind of joke, cut it out." Silence. Then the PA hummed with static again, and through it I heard a slow drip. A wet dripping sound like water hitting tile. Following the sound, I walked toward the entrance. The glass doors were fogged, rain blurring everything beyond. And on the entry mat right in the center, was a small puddle, fresh like someone had just walked in completely soaked. But the doors hadn't opened. I checked the logs afterward, nothing. As I stood staring, another drop hit the mat. A clear drip of water falling from above. I lifted my flashlight, nothing but ceiling tiles. No cracks, no leaks. Then the speaker above me hissed to life. "Don't look up." This time the voice was close, not just through the speaker, like it was right beside me. I stumbled back, hitting the cart corral railing. The PA exhaled another long static breath. "Then you left me somewhere." A cold shock went through my ribs. "Who?" I whispered. "Left who?" The voice didn't answer. It just repeated the same sentence, but slower, heavier, like each word hurt. "You left me somewhere." I backed away as something inside me clicked. Some memory I didn't want to acknowledge. Years ago, during a storm almost as bad as this one, a night stalker had gone missing while collecting carts. His name was Daniel. He'd been 24, funny, talkative, reliable. He had gone out to the far end of the lot around 3 a.m. and never returned. Police found only his walkie lying in a puddle near the cart bays. They searched everywhere. No tracks, no footprints, no signs of a struggle. His disappearance was ruled unexplained. The PA crackled again. Outside, my breath stuck. The word boomed through every speaker at once, vibrating in my chest. The walkie on my hip crackled with interference even though no one was talking. For reasons I still can't explain, I walked toward the entrance. The doors slid open automatically. Rain slammed into me like cold needles. The parking lot was deserted, except for a single cart sitting, crooked near a lamppost flickering. Under the storm, my flashlight beam jittered as I stepped into the rain, shoes splashing. As I got closer to the cart, I saw something wedged inside, a folded piece of damp paper. I pulled it free. The ink had run from the rain, but the message was still readable. "Check the feed." My heart thudded painfully. I sprinted back inside, leaving wet footprints behind me. In the office, I rewound the security footage. Time sped by with no issues, Chris working, Anna reorganizing displays, Marcus building an end cap. Then the clock hit 2:58 a.m., the same moment the PA said manager. For 3 seconds, every camera in the store glitched. The screens filled with static, then cut to a single image. The front doors. A man stood outside, soaked, head tilted. His Target red shirt plastered to him. The old uniform kind we phased out years ago. He pressed a hand against the glass. His face was pale, bloated looking, lips slightly parted, and then his mouth moved. I slowed the footage frame by frame. "You left me somewhere." When the cameras resumed, the man was gone. No doors opening. No footsteps. No shadow. Nothing. Just an empty, rain-beaten parking lot. I played the footage again and again until my hands stopped working right. Then I called my team to the office. They watched in silence. No jokes, no theories, nothing. Corporate dismissed it as a system malfunction when I reported it the next day. They said storms cause all kinds of interference and video artifacts. They replaced the PA system a week later. The technician pulled the old unit from the wall and frowned. "Weird," he muttered. "This thing's fried from the inside." The wiring was blackened, burned, but nothing smelled like smoke. Nothing else was damaged. When he unplugged the final cable, something small slipped out from the back and clattered onto the counter. A name badge, melted around the edges, warped from heat that shouldn't have existed. I wiped the soot away. The name was smudged, warped, but still readable. Daniel. It's been months now. I still work nights. Still hear the hum, the buzz, the breathing-like flicker of the lights. And sometimes, especially during storms, the new PA system clicks on by itself. A soft static whisper fills the store. Quiet, almost apologetic. "Manager." I always freeze. I always listen. And one night last week, close to 3 a.m., the voice came again, soft, wet, broken like someone speaking through water instead of air. "Don't leave me somewhere again." I've worked the overnight inventory audits at Target for 4 years now. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that the building feels different at 4 a.m. Not just quiet, empty in a way that makes you feel like you're trespassing in your own workplace. There's something about the after hours, Target atmosphere that's hard to describe. The store lights hum at a slightly lower pitch than in the daytime. The temperature dips a few degrees, and the red of the end cap displays looks darker, almost like dried blood under the fluorescent glow. I never used to notice any of that until the incident last year. Now I can't unsee any of it. This happened on a night when the rain was coming down so hard it looked like sheets of silver slicing across the parking lot. Heavy storms always make the store feel more closed off from the world, like we're sealed in a bubble with whatever else is trapped inside. I was in charge that night, inventory lead. My job was simple: count stockroom items, process bin locations, and verify nothing was out of place. The kind of work that normally turns your brain to oatmeal. My crew was small, just 2 people, Nora and Ben, both reliable, both quiet. I liked that about them. Around 1:20 a.m., I was in the stockroom scanning a pallet of assorted home goods when I noticed the smell of damp concrete. Odd, because the stockroom is sealed tight. No windows, no obvious leak points. The rain hammered the roof loud enough to make the building feel alive, but that smell shouldn't have been there. I shrugged it off and kept scanning. Eventually, I started hearing footsteps, soft ones, not the heavy thud of work shoes, more like someone walking slowly in socks, trying not to be heard. At first, I thought it was my team messing around. Ben, I called, no answer. Nora? Silence. The footsteps stopped. I finished the pallet and walked to the back of the stockroom. No one was there. I checked behind the steel racks under the conveyor belt. Nothing. I radioed them. Either of you in the stockroom? Nope, Ben said, still doing soft lines. Front of store, Nora added. Finishing clearance counts. So I wasn't imagining the footsteps. But fine, buildings make noises. Storms make noises. I kept going. At 2:03 a.m., I scanned bin 4B19 and something was off. The bin was supposed to hold 32 picture frames. It had 64, double, and every frame was identical. Same style, same barcode, same size. I checked the system. No overstock, no pushes, no backroom overflow. I chalked it up to a miscount from the previous shift and kept logging. But when I came back 15 minutes later, the bin had 32 again. Exactly what it was supposed to have. I thought maybe I'd miscounted earlier, but I'm good at my job. And I don't miscount frames of all things. I radioed the team again. Did either of you touch home decor? We're on the other side of the building, Nora said. Haven't gone near it. I let it go. For the moment. At 2:30 a.m., I took a break in the receiving area. The storm was still raging, and rain was practically blasting sideways across the loading bay door. Every time the thunder hit, the fluorescent lights flickered like they were nervous. I leaned on some boxes and let my brain rest for a minute. That's when I heard the shelving crash. Not a small crash, an entire section of metal racks slamming against something. I sprinted toward the sound, my scanner clattering against my leg. When I got to the aisle, seasonal storage, I found the racks perfectly still. Nothing knocked over. No boxes out of place. But the air felt colder, much colder, like walking into a freezer. I walked deeper into the aisle, my breath faintly fogging. Hello? I whispered, even though I hated how shaky my voice sounded. Nothing responded. Then I noticed something strange, really strange. On the floor, dead center of the concrete, was a single wet footprint. Bare, human, but only one. Nothing leading to it or away from it. I knelt down. The water was cold, ice cold. It didn't make sense. If someone had walked through, there'd be a trail. There wasn't. Just the one print, as if someone had stepped out of thin air. My heartbeat picked up. I backed away and called the team to meet me in the front. When they arrived, I told them we were doing the rest of the audit together. No more splitting up. They agreed without asking why. That's when I knew they felt it too, the shift in the atmosphere. We worked as a group, but the weirdness didn't stop. Somewhere around 3:05 a.m., every scanner in the building beeped at once. A notification flashed, item added to system. It wasn't possible. All 3 scanners logged the same mysterious addition at the same time. One item, no photo, no description. I checked the database. It didn't exist. Maybe a glitch? Ben offered, though he didn't sound convinced. Maybe, I said, but my stomach felt heavy and wrong. At 3:16 a.m., something new happened. Something that still makes my skin crawl thinking about it. We were in the toy aisle of all places, counting Nerf guns. The rain outside had grown so heavy the walls seemed to vibrate with it. The air felt thick, like humidity from a storm that wasn't supposed to reach inside. Then all the toys on the shelf began to face us slowly, deliberately. Every box turned on its own, twisting inch by inch until the front panels faced outward, like a collection of eyes staring at us. Nora gasped. Ben muttered, "No, no, no," under his breath. My throat tightened. "Back room," I said. Now. We hurried away from the aisle, but as we walked, we heard the sound of something following us. Soft taps on the tile, left, right, like bare feet. The same sound I heard earlier. We got into the stockroom, shut the door, and tried to breathe normally again. But the stockroom felt wrong too. The air thickened. The hum of the overhead lights deepened. And then we saw it, the same wet footprint I'd found earlier. Except now it was accompanied by another. And another, a trail forming slowly across the concrete. Leading toward us, I grabbed the nearest heavy box cutter and held it like a weapon. Ben grabbed a metal pole. Nora stepped behind us. The footprints continued forming, one after another, stopping just a few feet away. Then nothing. The air went still, silent. We didn't move. None of us spoke. After nearly 30 seconds of suffocating silence, the overhead intercom clicked on. Even though no one was near the PA controls, a voice, if you could call it a voice, came through, low, wet, like someone speaking through a mouthful of water. "Stop moving things." My entire spine went cold. "What?" I whispered. "Stop moving things," the voice repeated. "They are mine," Nora whimpered. "Bend back toward the exit. We need to go," he whispered. But the intercom clicked again, this time louder. "Put them back." Every light in the stockroom flickered. The shadow behind the racks shifted, swelled, like something was growing in the corners. I grabbed my scanner and checked the system again, desperate for some explanation. The mystery items queue flashed on the screen, but now it had a name attached, a name I recognized. Daniel. Not the same Daniel as your story. This was a real employee, a guy who used to work overnights years before me. I'd never met him, but I'd heard the whispers. He'd died in the store, a freak accident, collapsed between the racks on a stormy night. They said he wasn't found until morning, wedged under a pile of fallen boxes that no one could explain. I finally understood the voice, the footsteps, the footprints, the rearranged stock, the overfilled bins. He wasn't trying to scare us. He was furious. Every item we moved, every bin we reorganized, every shelf we corrected, we were undoing whatever he thought he was still doing on his unfinished shift. And he wanted everything put back exactly how it was before. The lights buzzed harder. The footprints took another step toward us. "Put them back," the voice hissed. And that's what we did. The three of us spent the next hour returning every single item to whichever place we originally found it, even if it was wrong, even if the bin was inaccurate, even if the layout didn't make sense. And with each item we corrected, the air grew warmer. The lights steadied. The pressure lifted. By 4:22 a.m., the weird smell of damp concrete faded, the last footprint dried, and the building felt normal again. I ended the audit early, sent my team home, didn't file a report, didn't tell management. The next night, I went in alone. No footprints, no voices, nothing. But every so often, especially on stormy nights, I'll notice something small out of place. An item turned backward, a bin count mysteriously doubled, a solitary frame moved from one shelf to another, and I always fix it. Not the correct way, the way he would have had it. Because I've learned one thing after that night. Some people never clock out, and some aisles at Target never really stay empty. The first time I noticed something wrong with my local Target, it wasn't the strange smell in the air, or the flickering lights, or the way the red carts seemed to drift by themselves across the parking lot whenever the wind blew. It was the fact that every time I walked through those sliding doors, I felt like I was stepping into a place that already knew me. Not in the friendly welcome back guest, corporate way, but in the suffocating way you feel when someone watches you sleep. I used to come here late at night after work. Target was one of the few places that helped me clear my head. I'd walk the aisles with a drink from Starbucks, zoning out, buying things I didn't need. It was comforting, predictable, bright, but everything changed the night. I saw someone who looked exactly like me in aisle C23. I remember that night clearly. It was raining outside, heavy, loud rain that hammered against the roof as if trying to break in. The store was quiet. Only a few shoppers wandered around, and most of the employees looked tired, like they wanted their shift to end. I was heading toward the home essentials section when I saw the back of someone wearing the same black hoodie I had on. At first I thought nothing of it. Black hoodies are everywhere. But then I froze. The person had the same stance as me. Same messy hair, same height, same ruined sneakers with the rip near the toe. Before I could process it, the person slowly turned their head. I didn't see their face. I didn't want to. Because deep inside I felt something wrong. Like if I saw their face, my life would split into two pieces and I'd never be able to put it back together. I blinked and the person walked away, disappearing behind a shelf of seasonal decor. I tried to play it off as coincidence, maybe paranoia from stress. But the encounter wouldn't leave my mind. Still, I kept coming back to Target, mostly because I convinced myself I imagined everything. But each visit felt stranger than the last. Employees whispering into walkie-talkies while staring at me. Aisles that seemed longer than normal, stretching in ways they never had before. Shelves that looked like they rearranged themselves every time I turned my head. Something was off, but I forced myself to ignore it. Then came the night everything snapped. It was a Thursday, a little past 10 p.m. The store was closing in less than an hour, and the atmosphere felt heavier than usual, like the entire place was holding its breath. I was walking past the electronics, section when I heard the sound of wheels scraping across the floor. At first I thought it was a stray cart, but when I turned around, a red Target cart was inching toward me. Slowly, steadily, without anyone pushing it. I felt a shiver crawl up my spine. I nudged the cart aside and walked faster, heading toward the back of the store. That's when I noticed something new. A door I had never seen before. It was between the stockroom entrance and the restrooms, an unmarked, beige metal door with no sign, no label, no keypad. Just a handle. I swear it wasn't there before. Not last week, not yesterday, not ever. I should have walked away, but something pulled me toward it, a curiosity mixed with dread. When I touched the handle, it was ice cold, like grabbing a piece of metal left in the freezer. And then, without me even pulling, the door clicked and swung inward by itself. At first, all I saw was darkness. But I heard something. Breathing, not human breathing, too slow, too deep, too heavy. I stepped inside anyway. Maybe some part of me wanted answers. Or maybe the store had been drawing me here the whole time. The moment I stepped through, the door slammed behind me. I spun around and grabbed the handle, but it wouldn't budge. I was trapped. I pulled out my phone, but it had no signal. Not even one bar. The hallway beyond was dimly lit by a few overhead bulbs, flickering in a rhythm that felt intentional. The walls were lined with shelves. Not like the ones in the store, but older wooden ones filled with random items, some Target branded, some completely unrecognizable. I saw old packaging styles, discontinued products, and things I didn't think had ever been sold in any store. The air smelled stale like the attic of an abandoned house. I walked slowly, listening to the sound of my footsteps echoing down the hall. Then I heard the breathing again, closer now, heavy, raspy, dragging in air as if through water. I turned a corner and that's when I saw it. My hoodie, my sneakers, my hair, my walk, my shape, my everything. Another me, standing at the far end of the hallway facing the wall. I felt my stomach twist into knots. My voice cracked when I whispered, "Hello?" The other me twitched, not turned, not moved, twitching like a glitching video frame. Then its head snapped backward. Fast, too fast, so. It was facing me, but its body stayed, pointing forward. Its face was mine, except wrong. Pale, stretched, too smooth. Like someone had tried sculpting me from memory, but didn't get the details quite right. Its eyes were open too wide, pupils huge and lifeless. Its mouth hung slightly open, as if it was about to speak but forgot how. I stumbled back, but the thing took a step toward me. Its movements were jerky, unnatural, like a puppet with tangled strings. And then it spoke in my voice. "You shouldn't be here." Words sounded like they were being scraped out of its throat. With a dull blade, I froze. The thing took another step. "You kept coming back," it whispered. So we made room. I didn't understand. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it echo. "What are you?" I choked out. It smiled, too wide for a human face. "Replacement," it said. "You leave." "I stay." It lunged at me. I ran. I sprinted down the hallway, turning random corners. Hearing its footsteps slam behind me, heavy, uneven, fast. I didn't know where I was going, I just needed escape. Then out of nowhere I spotted another door. A red door, like the exact shade of Target's logo. Without thinking, I threw myself through it and tumbled out onto the store floor. I was back in the main Target, right near the clothing section. Everything was normal. Bright lights, calm music, employees folding shirts like nothing was wrong. The door behind me was gone, completely vanished. I stumbled to my feet, heart still racing, sweat dripping down my face. A Target employee walked over, giving me a strange, stiff smile. "Can I help you find anything tonight?" he asked. His voice was polite, but his eyes were watching me too closely. "No," I muttered. "No, I have to go." I rushed out of the store and didn't stop until I was in my car. I sat there for 10 minutes, shaking, staring at my reflection in the rearview mirror. I was terrified I'd see the other version of me sitting in the back seat. I didn't go back to Target for weeks, but eventually I had to. I ran out of basic things: soap, toothpaste, laundry detergent, and Target was the closest store. And honestly, I convinced myself I imagined everything. Stress, lack of sleep, maybe a hallucination, maybe some prank by an employee. So I went back. The store looked the same, felt the same, but something inside me immediately felt wrong. When I grabbed a cart, I noticed the red paint was chipped. in the exact place where I grabbed it that night. A small detail, but too familiar. I tried to shop quickly. Toothpaste, laundry detergent, body wash. But as I walked past the home essentials aisle, every hair on my arm stood up. I felt someone walking behind me, matching my pace, staying exactly one cart length away. I turned my head, nothing, but I felt it. A shadow where light should be, a whisper where silence should be. Then the overhead speaker crackled, glitching, making a distorted sound like someone breathing through a microphone. And then I heard it, my voice. "Guest assistance needed in stockroom hallway." My blood froze, because I knew exactly which hallway they meant, the one behind the unmarked door. I didn't look back. I didn't grab anything else. I just walked fast toward the exit. And just before I left, I passed a circular mirror mounted high on the wall for security. In it, I saw myself. And behind me, half a step closer than before, I saw someone else. Same hoodie, same hair, same hands gripping the cart. But its smile was wider. It was still smiling as I ran through the sliding doors and into the rain. And now, I don't know if the version writing this is the real me, or the replacement that finally caught up. But if you ever see an unmarked door at Target, don't open it. Whatever version of you is waiting on the other side wants out. I never believed a Target could swallow a person, not metaphorically, literally. I used to joke about how the store was like a black hole for money. You walk in for toothpaste. You walk out with $200 worth of lampshades, pajamas, candles, and a clock shaped like a fox. But I never imagined that one day, the store would take something far more important than money from me. It would try to take me. The first sign that something wasn't right came during a quiet Tuesday evening. It was raining outside. Of course it was, and the parking was mostly empty except for a few scattered cars shining beneath the wet streetlights. I parked close to the entrance and rushed inside, shaking rain off my jacket. The warm blast of Target air hit me, carrying the familiar scent of popcorn from the cafe kiosk and that clean, artificial smell all big retail stores have. It felt comforting, safe. I was only there to pick up a few items for dinner. Nothing special. The store felt normal enough at first, though a little too quiet. Even the music playing overhead sounded softer than usual, as if coming from a speaker behind a wall rather than above me. And then I heard it before I saw it. A little girl laughing. Not a cute giggle, more like a looping sound. Effect, unnatural, repeating. Every 5 seconds exactly. I froze near the dollar section. Listening, I couldn't tell where it was coming from. I glanced around, but the aisles near me were empty. I shook my head and walked toward groceries. Probably a toy someone pressed that was playing on repeat, I told myself. As I moved deeper into the store, the laughter faded until it disappeared entirely. I grabbed some pasta, sauce, garlic bread, and a bag of salad mix. The usual. Then I checked out the home section, because somehow you can't pass it without accidentally walking through. That's when I saw a message. Written on one of the display mirrors in faint, foggy letters, "Run." I blinked hard. When I looked again, the mirror was clean, spotless, shining under the Target lights. Maybe someone touched it with their greasy hands or something. Maybe I imagined it. I pulled myself away and went toward self-checkout. But when I scanned my pasta box, the machine said something I had never heard in my life. Incorrect item detected. Then the screen flickered. The entire screen turned red. Not Target's red, this was darker. Almost maroon. And then white text appeared. "Don't look behind. I did what every horror movie character tells you not to do." I turned around. At first I thought I was alone. Self-checkout was empty except for me and a single employee standing by the kiosk, watching. His name tag said Marcus, but the name didn't matter as much as his stare. It was blank, too blank. Like he wasn't blinking or breathing. "Are you all right?" he asked, but his lips didn't match his words. Like a badly dubbed video, my heart hammered so hard I thought I might pass out. "I think your machine's glitching," I said, pointing at the screen. He didn't even look at it. He just tilted his head slightly as if the bones in his neck were loose. "Follow me," he said. "We'll fix it." I wasn't stupid. I backed away slowly. "No, it's fine. The overhead lights went out. Not all of them. Just the ones above me. A perfect circle of darkness swallowed the area around my feet. The rest of the store stayed brightly lit. "Please come with me," Marcus repeated. His head tilted further, too far. Something snapped inside me and I ran. I sprinted past the clothing section, nearly slipping on the polished floor. I didn't look back. I turned into a random aisle, kitchenware, breathing hard. The store was silent again. Uncomfortably silent. I peeked out between shelves. Marcus was gone. The self-checkout area looked exactly how it usually did. Clean, calm, normal, almost as if none of it happened. I needed to leave. I pushed my cart, wheels squeaking loudly as I hurried toward the exit. Then the overhead speaker crackled. Guest assistance needed in. Lost? That wasn't a department. Before I could question it, something else caught my eye. A woman standing completely still at the end of the aisle. She wasn't an employee, just a shopper, but her body was stiff, arms hanging down at her sides, head tilted forward. Her hair was dripping, even though she wasn't anywhere near the entrance. When she lifted her head, her eyes were blank, white, completely white. My stomach dropped. She took a step toward me. I ran again. My footsteps echoed too loudly, like I was in a mall, not inside a Target. I didn't understand how the store had become so big suddenly. Every aisle I turned into stretched longer than it should have. The signs overhead changed every time I blinked. Home, toys, beauty, seasonal. Home, beauty, toys, seasonal. They shuffled like someone was cycling through categories on a screen. I was trapped, lost inside a place I had shopped in 1,000 times before. I reached the back of the store, the stockroom door. It was open, barely, and I heard voices, inside, whispering, not talking to each other, talking to me, calling my name. I turned to run the other way, but the aisle behind me had changed completely. It wasn't the home section anymore. It was a hallway, a narrow one, made of walls that looked like polished concrete, not Target shelves. I didn't want to go in. I didn't want to move. But the whispers behind me got louder, closer. So I stepped inside. The hallway was cold, freezing. My breath fogged the air. The walls hummed faintly like machinery lived behind them. Halfway down the hallway, I saw something on the floor. A Target vest, crumpled, covered in dust. Something written on it in black marker. Let me out. My legs trembled, but I kept walking. At the end of the hall was a door, a red one, like the color of the Target bullseye. I didn't want to touch it. Everything in me screamed not to. But the whispers grew clearer. They were right behind me now. Too close, so I grabbed the handle and pulled the door open. The room inside was huge, bigger than the store itself. Endless aisles stretched in every direction, disappearing into blackness. Shelves were filled with items that didn't make sense. Old toys from decades ago. Packaging styles from before I was born. Products I didn't recognize at all. And in the distance, I saw people, or what used to be people, Target employees wearing outdated uniforms, shoppers in clothes from different eras, all wandering aimlessly, lost. Their skin was pale, cracked like old porcelain. Their movements were slow and jittery. Their eyes were empty. They didn't see me, but something else did. Something much bigger. It crawled above the shelves. A massive shape with too many limbs stretched and bending in unnatural ways. It moved like a spider made of shadows, but thicker, solid. I couldn't breathe. I backed away, but the door behind me was gone. Completely gone. Just another aisle in this endless place. I don't know how long. I wandered. Minutes, hours, time didn't make sense there. Every so often, I'd see things on the shelves that belonged to me. A mug from my kitchen. A jacket I lost years ago. Old letters. Childhood toys. Things I hadn't thought about in decades. That's when it hit me. This place wasn't a stockroom. It was a collection. A warehouse of people and memories and lost things. A place where time folded in on itself. A place Target didn't want customers to see. Eventually, I heard the sound again. The looping laugh of a little girl. I followed it because it was the only thing that seemed alive. After endless walking, I saw a light. A warm one. A familiar one. The exit doors. The real ones. Rain pouring outside. I sprinted. I didn't look back, not even once. I burst through the doors and collapsed on the wet pavement, gasping for air. When I looked up at the store through the rain, everything looked normal. Bright, safe, familiar. I drove home and swore I'd never go back. But 2 days later, I got a notification on my phone. A Target app alert. You left something behind, it read. When I opened the app, it showed a picture of me. Not in the store. Inside that endless place behind the red door. And the version of me in the photo wasn't moving, wasn't breathing, wasn't alive. And underneath the picture were the words, ready for pickup. I've worked security at Target for 6 years, mostly uneventful shifts. Shoplifters, teenagers messing around. Customers getting angry at coupons that expired a decade ago. Nothing supernatural. Nothing dangerous. Nothing that made me question my own sanity. Not until the night I learned what the store does after closing. What it hides. And what it keeps. My shift technically ends at midnight, but on Thursdays I stay later to help with closing procedures. Lights dimmed, aisles tidied, carts brought in. Last customers herded out gently like sleepy cattle. I like those nights. They're peaceful, predictable. The rain was coming down on this particular Thursday, the kind of heavy, steady downpour that makes everything outside look smeared and warped. Under the streetlights, it put me in a calm mood. Rain always has that effect on me. I did my usual rounds, checked the emergency exits, glanced at the security monitors, walked the perimeter. Everything was normal, until I noticed something odd on camera 3. A section of the store that should have been empty, toys, wasn't. On the monitor, someone stood perfectly still in the action figure aisle. Not an employee, not a customer, because no customers were left. The store had been closed for almost an hour. I leaned closer. Whoever it was stood facing the shelf, unmoving. Their clothes looked old-fashioned, almost vintage. The image glitched every few seconds, like the person wasn't fully there. I grabbed my radio and checked in. "You guys see anything in toys?" I asked. "Nope," one of the associates said. "All clear over here." I switched cameras. Camera 4 frozen. Camera 5 static. Camera 6 offline. Every feed around the toy section was malfunctioning. Only camera 3 showed anything at all. I watched the figure a moment longer. It hadn't moved even a millimeter. Something about that stillness made my stomach twist. I grabbed my flashlight and headed to toys. As soon as I stepped into the aisle, I knew something was wrong. The air felt heavy, like the humidity outside had seeped in through cracks in the building. But worse, there was a sound, soft, very faint, like a child humming. I tightened my grip on the flashlight and walked forward. The aisle was empty, completely empty. I checked behind shelves, end caps, displays, nothing. My radio crackled. "Hey, you good?" an associate asked. "You've been back there a while." "Yeah," I said, though it came out shaky. Camera must have been lagging, but when I turned to leave, I saw something sitting in the middle of the aisle. A small red toy shopping cart, the kind Target used to sell for kids. We hadn't had that model for years. I didn't hear it roll up. I didn't hear it fall. It was just suddenly there, placed deliberately. A piece of folded paper sat inside it. I shouldn't have opened it, but curiosity is a dangerous thing. The paper was old, yellowed, edges soft and worn, and there were words written in a messy, childlike scrawl. "Play with me." My throat tightened. I put the note down slowly and backed away. The humming stopped. The air went cold. And then I heard small footsteps running fast behind me. I spun around, but no one was there. The footsteps continued, circle around me. Fast, frantic, too light to be an adult. The sound bounced off the shelves in a way that made it impossible to locate. Then something tugged my pant leg. Hard. I jumped back. Nothing. No one. "I don't have time for this," I muttered, though fear was crawling up my spine. I practically ran out of the aisle. The moment I stepped back into the main walkway, the air felt normal again. The humming was gone. The footsteps stopped. I looked back. The little red toy cart was gone. The next morning, I checked the cameras again. This time, camera 3 showed something new. A little girl standing behind me in the aisle. Her face blurred, her body flickering like a bad reception signal. She hadn't been there when I looked. She hadn't been there when I turned, but she was on the footage watching. That was the first night. I considered quitting. I didn't, because 2 days later the store manager called me in early. "We've got a situation," he said, hands shaking slightly. "You're the only one I trust?" To look into it, I followed him to the back hallway, behind the stockroom, a place employees rarely go unless something breaks. "There's something in the service corridor," he said, and his voice cracked a little. That alone scared me. My manager was a no-nonsense tough guy who didn't believe in ghosts, excuses, or overtime. We reached the service corridor door, a plain metal door with a lock, except the lock was broken, bent inward, like something had forced its way through. "We didn't break that," he said quietly. "Just go in, check it out, tell me if we need to call maintenance." I opened the door. The corridor beyond was pitch dark. My flashlight beam caught dust swirling in the air. The space smelled old, stale, like a place sealed for years. I moved slowly, scanning walls, floor, corners. Halfway down, I found it. Another toy cart. Red. Child-sized. Same model as before. A sheet of paper sat inside it. My stomach dropped as I unfolded it. This one had a map. A crude drawing of the target layout, with an X marked in one of the back corners. A spot that didn't exist on any blueprint. A spot that shouldn't exist at all. But something was written beneath the map. Come find me. The humming started again. Not faint this time, loud right behind me. I spun and saw her. The little girl, but not blurred like on the camera. I saw her clearly now. Soggy black hair hanging in strands. Pale face, too pale. Eyes dark and hollow. Clothes old, stained, ripped. She stared at me, head tilted slightly. "Play?" she whispered. Her voice didn't echo properly. It vibrated, like it was layered with static. I backed away slowly. "I can't," I said. "I'm working." Her expression didn't change. "Play." She stepped forward. Her foot made no sound when it touched the floor. I turned and ran. I didn't look back. Her humming filled the corridor, rising in pitch, growing distorted. Something slammed into the wall behind. Hard, I burst through, the door into the main store, slamming it shut behind me and backing away. The humming stopped. The store was silent. The door creaked slightly, like something pushed on the other side. Then it went still. I didn't tell the manager what I saw. I just said the corridor was sealed and we needed maintenance to fix the lock. I checked the cameras for the rest of the day. The little girl appeared on 5 more monitors, always watching, always humming, always flickering like a bad TV signal. That night I stayed late again. I wanted to prove to myself I wasn't losing my mind, that there was some logical explanation for everything. But when I walked past the toy section, my blood went cold. Every shelf was rearranged. Every doll was turned to face the end of the aisle, and in the middle was the red toy cart, waiting for me. I didn't approach it. I didn't touch it. Not this time. Instead, I radioed the manager. "We have a kid in the store," I lied. "Someone got in after closing." "Impossible," he said. "We locked up 20 minutes ago." "Check the cameras," I said. "Now." There was silence on the radio. Then his voice returned, trembling. "Is this a joke?" "No, because camera 14 is showing a girl standing behind you." I turned, slowly, terrified. And there she was, inches from me, her eyes black as oil, her mouth stretched into a wide, unnatural smile. "Play," she said again. Then she reached for me. Her hand went through my shirt, through my skin, cold, so cold it felt like knives of ice slicing through me. I screamed and stumbled backward, falling hard. She stepped closer, her smile widening, jaw unhinging slightly. "Too far, too wide. Stay," she whispered. "Stay here with me." The lights above us flickered violently. A buzzing filled the air. And suddenly the store changed. The aisles stretched longer. Shadows thickened. The building groaned like something alive. And I realized something horrifying. She didn't haunt Target. Target trapped her, and now it wanted another. I crawled backward, pulse thundering in my ears. The floor beneath me rippled like something moved under it. The girl lunged. I don't remember how I got up. I don't remember running. I just remember bursting out the front doors into the cold rain, collapsing against the wet pavement, gasping for air. The girl didn't follow. She stood inside the store behind the glass doors, humming, watching. The next morning I tried to quit, but the manager stopped me. "I need to show you something," he said. He pulled up a video on his phone. Security footage from the night before. In it I was running, screaming, falling, but I wasn't alone. There were dozens of children around me, dozens, all flickering, all watching, all humming. "This isn't the first time," he said quietly. "Target has always collected things, items, people, memories. Once something gets in, it doesn't leave. I haven't returned to the store since. I won't, but sometimes late at night my phone buzzes. An alert from the Target app. A new item has been added to your cart, it says. And when I open it, there's always a picture of me inside the store, surrounded by flickering children, and the girl standing right behind me, her mouth near my ear. Under each picture is a message, ready when you are. I've worked the closing shift at Target for long enough that nothing really surprises me anymore. Shoplifters, strange customers, Kids hiding in clothing racks and popping out like possessed jack-in-the-boxes. But what happened the night of the reset, when corporate sent down new planograms and forced us to stay until 3 a.m., reorganizing the entire store will never leave me. I'm writing this because every time I close my eyes, I still see the red glow between the aisles, and I still hear the whispering underneath the hum of the refrigeration units. It started at around 11:45 p.m. We had already locked the doors, turned off the music, and shut down the front end. The store always feels different at night, bigger, emptier, like the shelves stretch farther than they should. I was assigned to the back half of the store, seasonal, home, and toys, lucky me. Those departments are the quietest, which usually means peaceful, but that night silence made everything sound wrong. I kept hearing a faint dragging sound, something pulling across tile. My first thought was, great, someone left a pallet jack loose again. But when I checked, all the equipment was staged properly. The pallets were shrink-wrapped and pushed neatly against the wall. That dragging sound? Still there. Still slow. Still rhythmic. Since we were short-staffed, each of us was alone in a few aisles at a time. I headed into seasonal with my flatbed cart, pushing boxes of new decor. That's when I saw something move at the end of the aisle. It was quick, like someone's head ducking down behind a shelf. I called out, thinking maybe one of the team members needed help. "Hey, who's back there?" No answer. Just that dragging sound again. Quieter now, like it was trying to hide itself. I told myself I was imagining it. When you're tired, fluorescent lights start to buzz louder. Shadows stretch weird and your mind fills in shapes. I kept working, cutting open boxes with my box cutter, placing new items, scanning them into the system, but I couldn't stop glancing toward the end of the aisle. It always felt like something was waiting there, just out of sight. Around 12:30 a.m., my walkie crackled and it scared the hell out of me. It was my manager, Eric, saying, "If you guys hear anything weird tonight, just ignore it." Overnight receiving said they heard some sounds earlier. Could be animals in the fence. His voice sounded off, like he was trying to downplay something. He didn't really believe. I replied, "Yeah, I've been hearing something dragging." He didn't respond for a long moment. Then he said, "Just keep working." Not helpful. I kept resetting shelves until I got to the big inflatable displays. You know the ones, seasonal characters that inflate with built-in fans, usually oversized and smiling like maniacs. One of the boxes was already open. That was odd because we hadn't touched those yet. The flaps were torn, like someone ripped them apart instead of cutting them. Inside, the inflatable was already inflated and moving slowly like it was breathing. I froze. The fan wasn't even plugged in. I stepped back, heart pounding, and the inflatable leaned forward just a little. Just enough to show it wasn't a trick of the light. I stumbled into a shelf, knocking over ceramic pumpkins. The inflatable fell sideways, collapsing like a dead body. But not before something inside it shifted, something heavy. I turned and ran out of the aisle, nearly slipping as I hit the smooth tiles. On the walkie, I whispered, "Someone's messing with the displays. Something's in them." No answer, only static. My hands were shaking so bad I dropped the walkie. I took a few deep breaths and forced myself to get it together. It had to be some employee prank. It had to be. Except no one else was assigned to my section, and the only other employee scheduled near seasonal was covering the opposite side. I grabbed the walkie, pressed the button again, and said, "Eric, where are you?" Still nothing. I forced myself to go toward the back room, hoping he was there and could explain everything. That dragging sound followed me. Faster now, closer. When I passed hardware, every motion-activated light flicked on in sequence, like something was running from the far end toward me. I bolted into the back room and slammed the door behind me. It was cold in there, too cold, like the air conditioning was cranked way higher than normal. I saw movement behind the receiving desk and let out a relieved breath when I recognized him. "Eric, dude, I swear, something is crawling around in the store." He slowly stood up from behind the desk, and then I realized he wasn't standing. He was suspended, lifted by something wrapped around his chest. Something pale and long and sinewy, something that slithered upward into the rafters. Before I could react, Eric's head jerked, his body tightening like he was being squeezed. His voice came out as a strangled whisper. "Don't let it see you." I stumbled back, hitting metal shelving. Boxes fell to the ground, echoing through the back room. The thing in the rafters reacted instantly. It moved so fast the ceiling tiles rattled. I didn't look at it, not fully. I saw pale limbs, too many of them, and the reflection of red, target red, glowing where eyes should be. I sprinted out of the back room and back into the store. The lights flickered overhead. The dragging sound was loud enough now that I knew it wasn't dragging. It was crawling, fast, too fast. I ran past toys, knocking over an entire display. Something screeched behind me, a sound like metal twisting inside flesh. I dove into an aisle and slid under the shelf, pressing myself into the dust and darkness. The thing moved past, its limbs clacking like hangers on a metal rack. The red glow scanned across the floor just inches from my shoes. I didn't breathe. I didn't blink. Finally, after what felt like minutes, it moved on. I crawled out when the silence returned, but the store felt different now. Wrong in every direction. The aisles weren't where they should be. End caps curved into new paths. The store was rearranging itself into a maze. I ran, following the emergency exit signs, except they kept switching directions. I passed seasonal again, and all the inflatables were standing. Inflated, facing me, their fabric bodies barely moving in the still air. Their faces changed, stretched, smiling too wide. Something inside them shifted again. I ran without thinking, without looking where I was going, until I saw the front doors. Locked, of course, but beyond them I could see the parking lot, empty, still safe. I grabbed the emergency, but knowing alarms might go off, but the bar didn't move, not even a millimeter. Like the door wasn't really a door anymore. Behind me, the dragging, no. The crawling returned faster, closer. The red-eyed thing whispered my name in a voice that sounded like every walkie-talkie in the store overlapping at once. I turned and ran toward guest services, dove behind the counter, and curled up. I stayed there until sunrise. When the morning crew arrived, everything was normal. The aisles were normal. The inflatables were neatly boxed. Eric was gone. Quit suddenly, they said. They asked why I looked pale, why my uniform was torn, why my walkie was crushed. I told them I didn't feel well. They let me go home. I've tried to quit. I've tried to move. But every night around 11:45 p.m. my phone buzzes. A notification from the Target employee app. You're scheduled for a reset shift tonight. They never go away. They never expire. And sometimes when my apartment is dark and quiet, I hear it again, the faint dragging sound of something crawling just outside my door. I used to love the late-night cleaning shift at Target. It was peaceful, lonely in a good way, like the world was muted and I could breathe for once. I'd pop in earbuds, zone out, and just clean. Buff the floors, wipe down the carts, vacuum the fitting rooms that somehow always smelled like fear and perfume. But after what happened 3 weeks ago, I refused to step inside a Target past sunset. And it has nothing to do with ghosts or demons or monsters crawling through shelves. This was worse because it was real, at least it felt real. And it felt like it wanted me specifically. The trouble started when corporate sent a new cleaning machine. One of those big ride-on scrubbers shaped like a chunky red beetle. Brand new, not the old broken one that squeaked like a dying whistle. This one was spotless, shiny, and it hummed like an engine that wanted to breathe. Congratulations, my manager Rena joked. You're the pilot of our new toy. She tossed me the key. It had a small red tag attached that read, "Do not operate after 12 Cyber AM." I laughed because corporate loves covering their asses. What is that? Some kind of weird safety guideline? I asked. She shrugged. Came with the crate. Probably legal stuff. Just don't drive it off a cliff. There are no cliffs inside Target. Obviously, so I ignored it. That was my first mistake. The second was staying late that night. My shift usually ended at 11:30 p.m., but the closer got swamped with an end-of-day rush. People buying candles, last-minute groceries, a single sock because somebody's dog probably ate the other one. By the time the store emptied, it was already 12:07 a.m., just 7 minutes past the warning. I remember that time exactly because the red cleaning machine had a digital screen on its console, and when I turned the key, the screen flickered like a dying old TV. It showed the time 12:07. Then the numbers glitched. They smeared like wet ink. Then they settled as 00 midnight even. Though it wasn't, I frowned and tapped the screen. It didn't fix. But the machine itself turned on fine. I climbed onto the seat and began driving down the main walkway between Women's and Beauty. The store was silent, lights dimmed to overnight mode. That faint white hum in the air. The scrubber made a low vibrating noise that echoed a little too loudly. Maybe because I was alone, maybe because the emptiness magnifies everything. At first, nothing was strange. I went up and down the aisles, cleaning. The machine worked great, almost too great. It glided like it knew the path on its own. Whenever I turned the wheel, it felt like it resisted. Not in a broken way, but like something else wanted to steer. I told myself I was tired. I kept going. Around 12:30 a.m., while passing the back of the store near Stockroom B, I noticed the screen flickered again. The time changed. Endless numbers rolled by, too fast to read, like it was cycling through every minute of every day all at once. Then it settled. New path initiated. I didn't know what that meant. Cleaning machines don't have paths. They don't have software like that. And they definitely don't tell you they've initiated anything. I reached to turn the key off. The machine didn't turn off. The key rotated, but the engine kept humming. I twisted harder, panicked a little, but the key spun freely like the ignition wasn't connected to anything anymore. Then the machine moved. By itself. Forward. Slowly at first, then faster. I tried pulling the emergency. Brake, nothing. I pressed my heels into the floor to stand up. The machine jerked violently, slamming me back into the seat. The seatbelt, which I hadn't buckled, tightened around me on its own. The strap snapped across my chest so fast it burned my skin. I screamed. I grabbed the buckle to undo it. It wouldn't release. It felt warm, almost like it was gripping me. The machine steered itself into the back hallway near the employees. Only door, and crashed through it, pushing it open like it had been waiting for that exact path to be clear. I was shaking, my heart pounding so loudly I could hear my pulse in my ears. The scrubber made a low, almost rhythmic hum. Like breathing, it drove toward the stockroom. It was dark except for emergency lights casting a faint reddish glow. The machine turned left, toward the receiving area. I yelled for it to stop. Obviously, machines don't respond to yelling. But this time, the humming changed pitch. Higher, sharper, like it understood. Like it was reacting. Then the screen on the console lit up again. Target detected. My blood went cold. Target, as in the store? Or target, as in me? The machine slowed. The overhead motion-activated lights turned on in sequence, stretching a path of sterile white all the way to the receiving bay doors. But something was wrong. The place was empty. Completely empty. No pallets, no cardboard, no shrink wrap, nothing. The room is never empty. Something clattered behind me, a metal sound. I turned quickly, but the machine forced my shoulders back with the seatbelt. I couldn't look behind fully. On the screen, new words appeared. Do not exit vehicle. I yanked at the buckle again. It only tightened, digging deeper into my ribs. I groaned from the pain. The machine rolled toward the large metal door leading to the loading dock. I didn't know what to do. I grabbed the steering wheel and tried to fight it. The wheel didn't budge. The machine pressed against the loading dock door, and the entire door rose, even though it was locked. My breath froze in my chest. Outside was darkness, but not regular darkness. The loading dock lights were on, but they didn't reach outside. The night looked thick, like fog made of ink. The machine rolled closer. My instincts screamed that whatever was outside was not meant to be seen. I kicked the machine's side panel with my heel, over and over, trying to knock something loose. Then finally something changed. Not because of my kicking, because something outside moved. Not a shape, not footsteps. A ripple in the dark, as if something massive was shifting. The machine froze. The screen flickered violently. Proximity breach. The seatbelt tightened so much I yelped in pain. I could barely breathe. The machine began backing up on its own fast, tires squeaking against the polished concrete. It was retreating. It was afraid. That terrified me more than anything else. Machines don't fear. Machines don't retreat. It backed up all the way into the center of the receiving area and stopped suddenly. Then the lights flickered off. Total darkness. Then red emergency lights flicked on. In that faint red glow, I saw something move along the wall. Long shadows. Stretching, curving, bending in ways human bodies don't bend. Something skittered across the ceiling, too fast for me to process. The machine vibrated under me like it was shaking. Like it was trying to hide. The screen flashed again. Return to origin. Without warning, the machine surged forward. jerking me hard against the belt. It accelerated through the stockroom, pushing through the door back into the store. Except the store wasn't the store anymore. The aisles were wrong. Too tall, too narrow. Like the dimensions had stretched when the lights went out. Every sign was blank. Every shelf was empty. The machine took a sharp right turn into beauty, then another left into household essentials. The hum was almost screaming now. The aisles curved in ways they shouldn't. Like the store was warping. I saw shadows darting between end caps, tall ones, short ones, some crawling on four limbs, others floating like torn plastic bags. I shut my eyes, but then I felt the machine slowing. I opened them again just as the machine approached the center walkway in front of guest services. The floor was wet, no shiny, reflective like a mirror. The machine stopped. The seatbelt loosened. Finally, I didn't wait. I threw myself off the machine and hit the ground hard. My palms burned. My knees hit tile. I scrambled up and ran. I didn't look back. I ran down the corridor to the front doors. But the moment I reached them, I realized the glass wasn't glass. It was a giant mirror, and in it I wasn't reflected correctly. My reflection was sitting on the red cleaning machine, belted in, eyes open, not blinking, staring directly at me. I backed away slowly. The reflection's head tilted unnaturally far, like the neck was bending wrong. Then it smiled. A slow, wide smile that I have never, ever made in my life. The reflection lifted a hand and pointed behind me. I turned slowly. The red cleaning machine was inches away from my back. I hadn't heard it move. It wasn't humming anymore. It was silent. Too silent, like it was holding its breath. I didn't think, I just ran toward the fitting rooms. I ducked inside, slamming the door behind me, and wedged a chair under the handle. The dark felt safer than whatever was happening in the store. I stayed curled in that room until the morning staff arrived. When they opened the door, the store was normal. The aisles normal. The floor normal. No warping shelves, no shadows. And the machine? Sitting quietly near the cleaning closet, spotless, like nothing had happened. But the worst part? The red tag with the warning was gone. In its place, something else was dangling from the key. A small plastic charm shaped like an eye, hand-painted, staring right at me. I quit that morning. But sometimes when I drive past the store late at night, I see through the glass front doors. The red cleaning machine is always parked facing outward, and sometimes, I swear, I see its screen flicker to life with a soft, ghostly glow, like it's searching, like it remembers me.